Before we start today's show, we take the podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. Go in, get the lunch special, $4.99, 2 sides bread, 32-ounce drink. I believe it is chicken spaghetti today on this Monday. Also, ribs tonight maybe. If you need to feed the family, wet or dry, stop in, call ahead. Your choice with the Oxford Exxon. And when you see it at the Pavilion, the Stadium Cups, buy one. You can fill it up at the Oxford Exxon whenever you'd like for 49-cent fill-ups there at the Oxford Exxon with that cup. And we're coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio, 662-257-1900, Highway 25 South, there in Amory, Mississippi. Give Corey Clark a call, 15 minutes from the business hours. You're going to get a quote. You can shop it around. You can keep it. It's going to be the best deal. And when you head back in to sign that paperwork and pick your new Clark Ford, tell them about the podcast. $500 off when you do so with Clark Ford. Now on to the show.
From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Monday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. Probably another basketball-heavy edition of the show as the Rebels beat the Arkansas Razorbacks pretty convincingly on Saturday, winning that one 84-67 at the Pavilion. Rebels led throughout wire to wire. Had a little breakdown there early in the second half. They went on a 13-2 run to cap it and moved to 4-1 in the SEC, 14-3 overall. Big week ahead for the Rebels, as kind of all of them are at this point, at Alabama tomorrow night. ESPNU, 8 o'clock start for that. And then the SEC Big 12 Challenge this Saturday against Iowa State. That is a nationally televised game, too. I had it up in a second ago. It is on ESPN on Saturday at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. start for that one Saturday.
Amen.
Against Iowa State. That's even, well, it's equal to the 11 o'clock football, but nonetheless.
Oh, it's even better. It's even better. You're done by like 2:30.
Well, yeah, but if you told me I had to start a basketball game later or a football game later, I'd rather get my football Saturday over earlier than the basketball game
I'm for
Saturday.
starting football games at 8 a.m.
You're probably the only one, but that's fine.
I'm the only one, but I'm firmly on that wagon. If someone wants to start that campaign, I'm with them. That sign will go up in the yard. I'm for that person.
So, week that was, Ole Miss goes 1-1. They lose to LSU. We've talked about that ad nauseum. They beat Arkansas on Saturday. Really just impressive all the way around. I covered it, covered at rebelgrove.com. Neal and I have discussed it a little bit on the phone yesterday, but not a whole lot at all. But, I mean, kind of the high points here. They got finally the big games from Davis and Tyree. They both were caused havoc from the guard positions. You've got D.C. Davis giving them pretty good minutes at that point guard spot in lieu of Devontae Shuler having a pretty rough go of it with his stress reaction. We'll talk about that, obviously, in a minute as well. And then inside was one of the huge stories of the game. Dominique Olenichek gets 13 first-half points, just really kind of killed Arkansas with the high pick and roll in the first half. They shut that down, and then Bruce Stevens scores 10 in the second half, ends up with 14 for the game. Ole Miss, Kermit Davis, every single time out, especially in the paint against a future first-round draft pick, 27-12 out of his 5 position on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see much of the game. Obviously, I saw probably 4 or 5 minutes, maybe mid part of the second half, so I can't comment a lot. I've looked at the box score, so I can comment on what I can see from a box score. It was a big win. They needed to win. They did. They needed to go 1-1 last week. They did. The one loss is not going to hurt them at all. I think LSU blew out South Carolina, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
LSU is going to win a whole bunch of games in the league, a whole bunch.
LSU is 4-0 in the league, a half game back of Tennessee at 5-0.
Yeah, I mean, LSU is going to win minimum 14 SEC games. They're really, really good. That loss is not going to hurt Ole Miss at all. Then they bounced back. That was the key thing. You knew at some point Ole Miss was going to lose a game. They did. Want to see how they'd bounce back, and they did. They get a double-digit win over Arkansas, and like you said, they handled the big guy,
Daniel Gafford.
Daniel Gafford pretty well.
Yeah, he only had 9 and 10, and the huge thing, he had no offensive rebounds. He did not get a putback the entire game. Some of that was Ole Miss. Some of it was him just, I don't know why, not having energy much Saturday. It was a combination of things. But
they're in trouble.
Oh, well, they're done. I mean,
Anderson,
Mike Anderson, after the game, in his voice, you could tell it was over even. He normally tries to get a little peppy and kind of a little bit whatever. You almost had to you had to strain to hear him talk on Saturday. He was just kind of whispering and downtrodden. And
they're going to want to make a move at the end of this season. And it'll be fascinating to see how attractive that job is on the national level. They wanted Mike Anderson. They got Mike Anderson. It didn't work. I'll be fascinated to see which direction they go with that job. But back to Ole Miss, 4-1, man. After 5 games, if you had offered Kermit Davis that before the season, there's no way in hell he wouldn't have taken it. He would have not asked any questions. He wouldn't have asked who's the one. He would have just said done. So they get Alabama tomorrow. I saw Carson and I went Saturday afternoon and played pool at this bowling alley in Chicago. Carson loves pool. We went and played pool, and the Alabama-Tennessee game was on the TV right above our pool table. So I saw a good bit of it. I wasn't, engrossed in it, but it was on. Alabama
they had the ball to go win the game at the end.
Alabama gave them fits. If you're Alabama, that's as close. I saw Chris Stewart say this on Twitter. That's as close to a moral victory as you get. Now, it's not a victory. Because the way that
once it got that close, you needed the victory, frankly. But
it would have been a massive resume win for Alabama. Instead, it will go down as a what if for them if they can't build on it. They're good. I'll be curious to see how they bounce back tomorrow night. If they bounce back tomorrow night.
Ole Miss catching them a good time.
Yeah.
Other than Ole Miss's own injuries, obviously.
But Alabama, I think, is 51-ish in the net. So it's an opportunity to go get another Quadrant 1 win. And you can't get enough of those. I think Saturday was a Quadrant 2 win.
At the moment, it would be, yes. Arkansas is, actually, might even be Quadrant 3 at the moment. Arkansas was 78 going into the day. And since it was a home game for Ole Miss, I think that puts it just slightly in the Quadrant 3 at the moment.
If you're Ole Miss at this point, you're cheering for Arkansas for a little while. You'd like to see them get some wins. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that for you.
Yeah, Arkansas at 83 in the net now. They've got to get into the 75 for it to be a Quadrant 2 game.
Probably not going to end up being much of a win for Ole Miss, but it's a game they had to have. They got it, and so they go forward. They have 2 big opportunities this week.
Alabama is 50 in the net, which makes that a Quadrant 1 game.
Quadrant 1 win, and I think Iowa State's 18, 19 in the net.
18.
Iowa State got a big win on Saturday, I think.
If you'd like to watch them tonight, they play in Lawrence, Kansas on television tonight.
Yeah, so they're not going to get hurt tonight one way or the other. So Saturday morning is going to be a huge opportunity for Ole Miss. That's bottom line. And as goofy as this sounds, because of the way Ole Miss has handled things, if you can go 1-1 this week, you're fine. If you go 2-0 this week, you get in really sweet spot.
Yeah.
And 0-2 hurts a little.
Looking at the schedule, the standings for the SEC, if you just kind of care, Tennessee's at 5-0, as I mentioned. LSU is 4-0, and then in that cluster at 4-1 is Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Kentucky. Right after that, at 2-2 is Mississippi State and Auburn. Alabama, Florida 2-3, Missouri 1-3, and then Arkansas, Georgia, and A&M are 1-4, and then just wheels, spokes, everything completely run off the rails. The Vanderbilt Commodores are 0-5 in the league.
Yeah, Ole Miss damaged them.
Yeah, just broke them.
And they built so much of their team around Darius Garland, and he went down, and they're not going to.
They were at least playing hard early. Now they're not even playing hard, frankly.
Well, now they don't have any confidence.
Yeah.
So that's a hard game to play when you don't.
They're destined for a 2-14, 3-13 kind of, or they're playing 18 games, but whatever.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So anyway, for Ole Miss, it's just a big week. DC Davis obviously gave them big minutes, and they'll probably need more big minutes from him for a little while going forward. I don't know what the situation was with Schuler. You can touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
we'll talk to Kermit. By the time you hear this, I will have talked to Kermit Davis. If there's anything earth-shattering, I will post it on the message board immediately. I'll have content later.
Yeah, I don't think there will be. Just judging by his post game on Saturday, Schuler didn't start, so everybody focused in on DC, and DC had the big spurt at the very start of the second half. Ole Miss was up 11, I think, at the break, and DC had a 3-point play, or he had a layup and a free throw really early in the second half. Ole Miss goes up 14, and then Arkansas goes on an 8-0 run. And if you've seen Ole Miss games early in the second half, they've kind of been dominated most times out. LSU outscores them by 14 in the second half. I think Mississippi State scored the first 7 points of the second half in their game. So they've had some troubles with that moving back. I mean, Auburn went on a 13-2 run to open the half against Ole Miss. And DC and Terrence kind of stabilized things. Ole Miss keyed that 13-2 run of their own and put the game away. But Schuler played 25, 27 minutes, something like that. But he was 1 of 6 from the field. He had turnovers. He never looked comfortable to me. There was never any rhythm there. And that foot's definitely bothering him. He's got the stress reaction. Kermit said that they're just trying to limit him, be careful with it, hopefully get him healthy in 3 or 4 weeks. He's going to have an x-ray again on Thursday to see if there's been any change since the last x-ray. So he'll try to play against Alabama. I'm sure he will play against Alabama, and then they'll go from there. I told Neal this, and it was just one of those antenna going up things. I haven't covered Kermit Davis before, so this could be something that is nothing. Probably is nothing, but I found it a little interesting that he was asked a couple questions about DC really early in the press conference on Saturday, and he was very careful to not limit praise to DC, but to allow the narrative that Schuler was out or was not their point guard. I know twice he repeated verbatim, Devontae Schuler is our point guard. He very easily could start Tuesday. He's our guy. He's our guy. He's our guy. He's our guy. And I don't know, I don't know if maybe Devontae's a little down and that was speaking to him. I don't know what that was, but I just kind of thought, I don't think that's necessarily for debate. And given the question, it seemed like he was talking to someone else other than us as he was answering it, in my opinion.
Yeah. I haven't covered him long enough to know his intricacies.
Yeah.
I covered Nut for a while, and you sometimes knew when he was saying something, what he was trying to say. Freeze, Kennedy, that kind of stuff.
And I think it was a guarding of, hey, guys, he's still going to play. Let's not act like it's
probably
whatever.
the kid. I'm guessing, and this is completely guessing, the kid's a little down.
Of course. Yeah.
And so he's making sure that the kid knows that
it's all good.
Hey, it's all good. I know your numbers aren't great, but I know you're hurting and you're trying to play through it and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, just something kind of picked out when we were sitting there on Saturday. If you're curious just about the league, the last chance for the SEC to get some non-con victories prior to NCAA tournament play, help some resumes. Here's the rundown of the 2019 SEC Big 12 Challenge. It is the year where the SEC gets to put their name first. They alternate that, so that's not confusing at all. But
no.
Anyway, this year it's the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Next year it will be the Big 12 SEC Challenge. So,
God.
All right, here you go. Here's your games this week. You got Alabama at Baylor.
Okay.
So, whatever. Good game for whatever. Baylor, by the way, is becoming a much better win by the day for Ole Miss because the Big 12 is eating itself. And the Big 12 eating itself is great news for Ole Miss because that allows Iowa State and Baylor to both keep very high nets.
Big 12's really good.
Yeah, it's the number 1 RPI conference right now.
Really, if you watch any of their games, those are good teams.
Iowa State at Ole Miss, been over that, as they do every single year, it seems like. Kansas is at Kentucky. Kansas State is at A&M.
It's almost like that's a made-for-TV game.
It's almost like maybe it's not a random draw. There's a possibility the thing is not completely just computer-generated or anything. But
that's my guess. Yeah.
Well, you see it even a little bit, though. If you're Ole Miss, this could be a really big year for them and getting moved up in that Big 12, pecking order too. Because in the past they've played, Tech when Tech was down, or they play somebody and it's like a TCU or something. You get into that range where you play Oklahoma or play Iowa State or some of those teams, where all of a sudden it's a little different game for you as well.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt at Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, that's going to be bad. On Saturday, South Carolina at Oklahoma State, Florida at TCU, Texas at Georgia, Arkansas at Texas Tech, and West Virginia at Tennessee. Frankly, there are not many good games on this list. Ole Miss Iowa State might be the number 2 game on this list this weekend.
Yeah, Tennessee, West Virginia will be interesting.
But it's in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And West Virginia is okay.
Yeah. That
Texas Tech's going to blow out Arkansas at home. Texas is going to go to Athens probably and win. I know nothing about TCU.
They're pretty good. Jamie Dixon's done a good job, yeah.
It's actually a big game for Mike White there then. You got to think South Carolina can't go to Stillwater and win that game. Oklahoma's going to beat Vanderbilt.
Yes.
I don't think A&M holds serve against Kansas State, but who knows?
No. Arkansas has no chance in Lubbock.
And then, Alabama at Baylor, Kansas at Kentucky, and then Ole Miss and Iowa
Alabama
State.
at Baylor has a chance to be a good game. West Virginia at Tennessee has a chance to be a good game. I'm not criticizing either league for pairing Kentucky and Kansas.
Oh, no,
if you're the Cat in Des Moines and that game comes on,
sure,
why not? I mean, it's two pretty
more
good
than
games.
Kansas playing South Carolina, and Kentucky playing TCU. So
yeah, you have a chance to get a premier marquee matchup.
It's where it is what it is, but this thing goes on 2-year rotations, and it's where Ole Miss is a little unlucky right now because, like, Auburn's not in it because 2 years ago they were bad.
Right.
LSU's not in it.
Ole Miss will not be in it next year. Is that right?
Well, unless it rotates off this year, so Ole Miss is back in. I don't know what year is the rotation.
I can't remember how it works.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But either way, if you're in the last 4 for the SEC, you don't get in. So LSU and Auburn aren't playing.
Yeah, two teams that you would
win for the SEC most likely are not playing. Well, Mississippi State's not playing.
Auburn's fast figuring it out. Yeah, Mississippi State's figuring it out. Mississippi State's figuring it out. Auburn's figuring it out. LSU's really good.
Who else am I missing? LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State. Who else?
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. That's it. Those 4 are not in. It's actually kind of a storyline we need to get the answer to. Then what year does it rotate? Does Ole Miss play in this thing next year or not? Because they're obviously going to finish in the top 10 in the SEC this year. So
certainly appears so.
It would. If not, then there's another story there coming through.
One hell of a collapse coming. It certainly looks like they're gonna play. At worst, they'll be playing on Wednesday at the SEC tournament.
Well, that would put you out of the top 4. I don't know. Wednesday's the first day.
That's right. Wednesday's the first day.
Thursday would be the
at worst they're playing on Thursday.
Because the double bye teams don't play till Friday.
I got my days mixed up.
That's okay. Forget it.
Last year I had to go on Tuesday to cover the Wednesday game.
Okay.
That's what threw me off.
All right. Fair enough. Let's talk here a little bit. So they get a pretty good effort out of Bruce. They get a really good effort early out of Dom. You mentioned you and I were just talking yesterday. You said there's some rust, a lot of different things. What is it? What's allowed him to be? And I mean this in a positive way, a competent SEC forward right now.
Well, I mean, I can remember Andy Kennedy telling me this guy, Dominic Olenichik, had a chance to play in the NBA. And then last year he looked so bad that you thought, are you nuts? What happened? And a number of things happened. One, he was really rusty. You can only get into basketball shape by playing basketball. Not scrimmages, basketball. 2, I think confidence was thrown off. When he didn't get off to a good start, he let it build. I've heard both Andy and Kermit talk about with Dom the importance of next, getting over a mistake, just play the next play. A closer mentality. Not everybody, that ninth inning's hard. Not everybody's made for the ninth inning.
All 27 outs are not equal.
No, I mean, they are on paper, but they're not in reality. And so sometimes when you make a mistake and it starts to you're thinking about that, you're not focused on the next play. You can't move on. I think he's battled that psychologically. It's just a number of things, just look, he didn't grow up in the States. I mean, he's in a different place. So he's probably getting comfortable finally with Oxford and Mississippi and the U.S. and all of that. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, I mean, and then on the other side, I think with Bruce, there was always this discussion about, hey, you've got to get in shape. You're not a very good defender anyway. You can't be overweight. And he played last year overweight. And now he's getting better. He's still not a good defender, but maybe a little better. And he's making that shot some. He's making that shot enough that teams are having to defend it, and that's opening up the paint for drives. And Ole Miss has a couple of really good driving guards, and Terrence Davis and Breon Tyree, two guys who can get to the glass. And frankly, DC Davis is decent at that. And Devontae is when he's healthy. He's the foot's bothering him right now. But Henson's a driver. Buffin's a driver. Bruce being able to do that pick and pop where he makes the pop enough that you have to defend it opens up the paint. And Dom's a big body. He's a big kid. I mean, he's really a big human being. And he's starting to use that size to his advantage. He blocks out. He's rebounding the ball pretty well. He's disrupting some shots, playing better, having a little more touch at the glass. His hands have always been questionable. They remain questionable, but I think he's working on it. I've heard Kermit say this. I've heard Andy say this. So I think it resonates about the kid. He shows up. He's always there early. He's always putting in the early work. He stays. He wants it. He cares. And when two coaches say that, including one who's about to get fired and one who didn't recruit the guy and could easily process him and go, hey, I didn't recruit that guy. Nah, he wasn't my guy. Nice kid, but whatever. When both coaches start saying that, I think it resonates as awfully factual, as no spin. So he's a great kid. He tries real hard, and sometimes it just takes a little while for things to work out.
Take a break in the podcast, tell you about Scripted Jewelry, scriptedjewelry.com. Check out the website. If you haven't been to the website, time to do that because they get handcrafted items to order. The turnaround times are fantastic. Get to that in a second. Put your script, put your fingerprints on an item that your significant other, just a loved one, would really enjoy for years to come. You got plenty of occasions coming up, from Valentine's Day to graduation to Mother's Day and more, which brings us to those cutoffs. For Valentine's Day, if you don't have to pay for any rush upgrade or anything, January 30th is your cutoff for that. If you're a little late getting to it and you need to still get an upgrade and get it out before Valentine's Day, February 6th is that cutoff. When you're checking out, put in Rebels10, REBELS10 to get 10% off with scriptedjewelry.com.
I'll forget this if I don't say it now. I get this word of the day program that I do.
Okay.
And the word today is unfrequented. What do you think that word means? Unfrequented.
Well, I mean, breaking it down, un would be not, so frequented, but I'm assuming that's not the case. So what is the definition?
Devoid of creatures.
Well,
so I guess you're saying...
yes, but...
I guess you're saying this habitat is unfrequented.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense, but that would not be the connotation that I would have placed on that.
Well, no, that's why I was fascinated by it. I mean, normally
it's kind of a neat word.
Normally it's a word that I'm like, oh, yeah, I already know what that means.
So in baseball, I could say third base was unfrequented when
if
a team doesn't get into scoring position throughout the day.
Yeah. The guy ever throws a no-hitter, I just gave you a free word.
There you go. It sounds like you're being a smart aleck, though. You use it, doesn't it, a little bit, but it's just, it comes off with a little bit of a cocky connotation. But
well, sometimes it's kind of fun, though. I mean, look, you know this. Sometimes when you write for a living, you write to entertain yourself at times. I mean, I hate to break it to everybody, but sometimes people go, "Why'd you write that?" Because I wanted to.
Yeah,
I did it for me. Anyway, guests will join us this week on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law. They specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but theirs is a general practice that can handle any of your legal needs. When you contact Patterson and Earhart, you speak to one of the partners in the firm, and that's who'll handle your case, not some paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. If Patterson and Earhart can't help you, they'll refer you to someone who can. John Calvin Patterson and Wes Earhart are Ole Miss guys. They're local guys, and when you call them, you're going to get one of them on the phone within the same day, guaranteed. So whether you've been injured in a car wreck or have other legal issues, give them a call, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com. Your initial consultation is free. We're also brought to you by Home 2 Suites Oxford. It's Pop-Up Oxford Week right now. Be a really good week to come visit Oxford. Maybe you're coming up for the game on Saturday morning, coming up, making a weekend of it. Get in touch with Home 2 Suites. Call the front desk. They're offering a 20% discounted rate the entire week of Pop-Up Oxford. So whether you're coming up for that or whether you're coming up later in the year for basketball, for softball, for baseball, it'd be a great place to stay. There, every suite is it's exactly what you need. It's got they've got catered breakfast, all of that stuff. It's a perfect place to stay. It's just 1 mile from campus off the Old Taylor Road exit. Follow them on social media. They're going to be announcing their start of football weekend reservations here in the next few days, so be on the lookout for that. Home 2 Suites, Oxford. You really need to experience the difference a quality sock makes. It's the first step in dressing for the job you want and not the job you have. Go to deadsoxy.com, enter the code Rebel Grove at checkout to receive 25% off all orders, including sale items. You're going to start hearing soon about new products and opportunities, so be on the lookout for everything at deadsoxy.com. When you go to the site, enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 25% off all orders, and Happy New Year from Dead Soxy. On Tuesday, January the 29th, so a week from tomorrow, Pinnacle Trust will be hosting their annual economic forecast in Jackson, Mississippi at the Country Club of Jackson. Doors open at 5. You can join the Pinnacle team for cocktails and appetizers in that hour. Then the program begins at 6. It'll end promptly at 7. Goldman Sachs economist John Tousley will be highlighting the current state of global economy and financial markets. The Pinnacle investment team will cover topics ranging from geopolitical risk to tariff negotiations and the impact on markets and the Federal Reserve. For those unable to attend, the event will be recorded and made available on the Pinnacle Trust website, pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. For reservations, email assistant@pintrust.com or call the office 601-957-0323.
Podcast also brought to you by G&M Pharmacy. They're on South Lamar in Oxford. Go somewhere you're appreciated. They're locally owned and operated and care about their customers in Oxford's trusted hometown pharmacy for over 40 years. Offer many great services such as MedSync, immunizations, and free delivery to your home or workplace. And transferring your medications is simple. Just give them a call at 662-236-2222, and they will take care of the rest. Looking at net rankings for the SEC going into the week, we've got Tennessee leading the way at number 4. That is not surprising. Ole Miss gets them at home for a complete free shot here in a couple weeks. LSU at 13, Kentucky at 8, Ole Miss at 24, Carolina at 110. A game Ole Miss needs to go to Columbia and win. Mississippi State at 26, Auburn at 22. That's important as they need to stay in the top 30 for the Rebels. Alabama's at 50 as of right now. Florida at 36. That's still pretty high for the Gators. Missouri at 76. Arkansas at 83, as mentioned. Georgia at 103. A&M 111. And Vanderbilt 90. The only concern there a little bit, Neil, is they spent most of the year with only one team in the outside of the top 100. Now it's at 3 with Vanderbilt trending that way too. You need to be a little careful about that as things move forward.
Yeah, you don't want that to completely fall apart where 3 or 4 teams in your league are outside the top 100.
Need them to sit between 80 and 90, much more than 1 to 120.
Well, you'd love everybody to get
just
inside that first 100.
And I get the 100 is not a cutoff point, but it just, I don't know, something about it to me is a little
optic.
Whatever. Yeah.
There's an
Numbers
optic.
still exist, even though we're all changing our minds about what matters right now.
It's like people keep asking, so what will they look at in the room? Are they going to look at the AP poll? No. They're going to look at these computer numbers. They're going to lean on this net thing.
Hard.
The way they always did with RPI. They're going to lean on net.
And net's a much better number than RPI. There's efficiency ratings in this. There's some margin of victory ratings in this.
Yep.
Frankly, when I looked at the formula all the way through, I thought, I kind of like it. I sort of like this formula.
So that's what they're going to study. That's the number that's going to be in front of them. They're going to talk about it. They're going to hammer it home. It's going to be their cop-out. When they have a hard decision to make, where there's politics involved, they're going to lean on the numbers. So these numbers matter. The Vanderbilt win for Ole Miss doesn't look as good as it did earlier. The Mississippi State win for Ole Miss looks better and better with each passing day. As hard as it is for Ole Miss fans to cheer for Mississippi State, you should. Frankly, you should cheer for Mississippi State except for one game the rest of the way.
The one in Oxford.
Yeah. You need to cheer for Arkansas now. You'd love to see them go on a run if you're Ole Miss. You need to keep cheering
everyone to win on this weekend.
And you'd like Auburn to keep winning.
Yeah, that's a critical one, actually.
Because that's a real pretty win. And you need Auburn to have a high number. Because you're probably not winning there.
Just kind of looking at that schedule for Tuesday night. You got 4 games on Tuesday. Ole Miss and Bama, the last one to tip. Again, that's on ESPNU. All 4 on national television on Tuesday night. Auburn at South Carolina. Auburn probably going to go to Columbia and win that one. It feels like the Gamecocks bubble's going to burst a little now as things move forward.
I would think so.
Mississippi State is at Kentucky on Tuesday night. That's on ESPN.
That's a good game. What time's that game?
That game is at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
That's a 6 o'clock game.
That's not a bad game at all.
That is sort of the lead-in to Ole Miss and Bama, except it flips over to ESPNU right after that. So Texas A&M and Florida is your other game on Tuesday.
That's when Mike better win.
Yeah, that's a big one for the teams involved, and then nothing that's sticking out to me whatsoever on Wednesday night. Kind of a dud of a slate. Tennessee is at Vanderbilt, so the Commodores are going to go to 0-6 in the league.
Yeah.
Georgia is at LSU. I know who's going to win that one.
Yeah, my money's on the Tigers.
Whatever the money line is, go ahead and rack that one up. And then Missouri at Arkansas to close the day. Huge game for Mike Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
To even have a pulse after the week.
No doubt.
I mean, got to win it just to even.
No doubt. Start watching crowds at Bud Walton at this point.
It'll be bad. I mean,
got to start watching crowds.
I told you the other day. I mean, even just on a radio show and then watching some, because I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. But they said, "What is your perception of the Arkansas program?" And I said, "Well, it feels like they're just treading water. They're not bad, but they're not improving. They're just sort of there." And I mean, Twitter's. And I get Twitter's a bad representation of anything, but
they agreed with you though, right?
Oh, blowing up, yeah.
Nobody got mad at you?
Well, if anything, they thought I was being too kind. And it's like, well, no, they're okay. I mean, they're not one of the worst 5 teams in the league or something.
But there's an expectation there, fair or not.
Because they won a national title and went to another title game the very next year. However, that was a good while ago.
20 years ago.
25 years, 94, 95.
Yeah, Scotty Thurman's a grandfather now.
Was it Corliss Williamson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corliss is great now.
Somebody had a shirt on in the pavilion the other day that had like all those guys' names on it. It was like Corliss, got like all like down a little row, like it was like 4 or 5 different names.
That's a good team.
I think they're kind of living still with that group a little bit. It's a little Tennessee football, Nebraska football element to Arkansas basketball.
There is. It's a neat facility.
But it's getting a little
They've
old.
got a great basketball tradition, and they haven't been able to keep winning. And when I say winning, the expectation there is to be a Sweet 16 level program, and they're not.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Not Kentucky, but whatever that next tier is in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you now, I can remember it wasn't that long ago, really. It doesn't feel like, but I guess it was, when Kentucky and Arkansas would play in the SEC tournament. That's a big damn deal. And that's gone. Kentucky's still around. Arkansas, not so much. And they've got to figure it out. I expect the coaching change there. I do.
Tennessee's the number 2 program in the league right now, right?
Yeah, I think so. But
it's just weird little.
But it's still really new. This Rick Barnes winning thing is still pretty
But if
fresh.
they're not, who is? Auburn's not even in the freaking SEC Big 12 Challenge.
No, I don't know that there is a clear-cut one. I think it's Kentucky,
and then just
there's this massive fall where you need a parachute to break it. And then there's just some teams.
And then there's a big middle, and then on the bottom there's like some crap.
My answer would have been Florida for a long time.
Oh, yeah, it was Florida for a long time.
And I don't know that it's Florida now. They're in the mix.
And all you had to do was kind of jump down a one little story to get there in the past.
Yeah, well, it used to be, you could have survived the fall.
Yeah.
From Kentucky to Florida. And now it's jumping off a cliff, and you better have one of those parachute things, or else you're not going to make it. I mean, look, for a long time, it was Kentucky and then Florida, and quite frankly, it was kind of Ole Miss, which tells you a lot. Because Ole Miss wasn't making the tournament consistently.
Ole Miss was 3rd in SEC wins for a long time in Andy's tenure.
Yeah, like 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not.
Because they never had that 3-15 that everybody else had to throw
they
them
were
off.
a steady 500 team. And everybody else had fall-offs. Like Mississippi State had Rick Ray, where it was like a complete, total disaster. Ole Miss never had disaster until last year.
Yeah.
Andy's teams were always at worst okay. I feel almost nervous even saying anything remotely positive because, there's this.
I can't stop laughing at your bobbleheads over there. It's been weeks, and I still I don't know. They crack
Which one?
Me up. The Locke and the Ed Oliver next to each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tripping me out. Saw Carson ask a question again in Chicago.
He did. He was going to ask about Bryce Harper, and the dude right in front of him asked about Harper.
That takes some thinking on your feet then in that setting.
He had less than about 30 seconds to kind of get his thoughts squared away. And so he asked about.
You had not discussed secondary questions with him?
Nope.
So what was the answer? You kept us from the climax.
It was just really.
He was asked what the biggest part of what was the most difficult part of the rebuild.
Yeah, it was the most toughest part of the rebuild. He talked about, the first part of the rebuild was actually kind of easy because you went in and anybody that was good, you knew you were trading them. It was all about evaluation. And then he said that I think the hardest part was, being so young all at once and just kind of instituting culture and things at that point with a bunch of kids. It was kind of the theme is that, the whole week. Carson got a lot more positivity out of it than I did. I think I have been around enough coach speak and bullshit to know when I'm getting fed. Carson bought a lot of the that's fine. Yeah, it's cool. He came away enthused, so good for him. There was a whole lot of, hey, look, these guys are all really good players, and we all evaluated them, and it's time to quit living on potential and start living on reality, or else we're going to have to make decisions. Kind of felt like
it's the truth that's kind of buried in this stuff a little bit. There's a lot more to it.
I had a lot of questions. My question never really got answered. Why'd you pick this year to have a budget? You hadn't had a budget in a while. Why are we suddenly having a budget now?
Why didn't you get up and ask the question?
Because no one's going to answer it. You've been in that deal. You've sat in press conferences where there's questions that need to be asked, and you don't ask them because it's not going to be answered. And I was reading guys like Sahadev Sharma and people like that on my phone, and they had already asked about 2 hours earlier because there was a big media opportunity before the thing started, and they had obviously asked those questions, and I'd read the answers, and the answers were coach speak and unsatisfactory. And
what is the spin to the budget situation?
Oh, the spin is that there's always been a budget, and that Theo and Jed Hoyer make the decisions, and they spent a lot of money the last few years, and there's just not as much flexibility this time around, which is crap.
Doesn't really hold water, but
it's absolute crap. It's horse crap. The answer to it is you have generational talents that are available right now. This would be the time to dip into the tax, knowing that you could come off of that tax next year when some contracts roll off. But it's not my money. It's not my budget. It's easy for me to spend somebody's millions.
I understand that, but that still doesn't.
Yeah, it's you have an opportunity, and the rest of the division is spending money, and you're not. So, I think the bigger concern, if you're a Cubs fan watching that, is that it's easy to explain away why you're not signing Bryce Harper. It's not easy to explain away why you're not signing somebody for your bullpen. Might need some bullpen arms. Especially when you just lost a division to a team that won it because of its bullpen.
Yeah, you seem a little disconnected right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty disconnected.
As much as you can be.
Yeah. Carson's super connected. I did enjoy – the one thing I enjoyed from the whole weekend was – so they have on Friday night, it's sort of like a – it's built to be like a late night with Conan O'Brien sort of a show, okay?
All right, sure.
It's with Ryan Dempster as the host, and he actually was really good. I'll give him credit. It was a little too long. It was like 2.5 hours. It was too long, but it was good. Had a whole bunch of guests, and his final guest of the night was Chris Bryant.
Okay.
And so Chris Bryant comes in, and we should all be Chris Bryant for a day. I think we all deserve in our lives to be Chris Bryant for a day. Chris Bryant came in. I think he was very relaxed, and it was a relaxing deal. And they were talking about the concert that he and Bryce Harper went to where Nelly was there.
Okay.
And Chris Bryant talked about how it wasn't part of the plan to meet Nelly. It just happened. Because when you're Chris Bryant and you're hanging out with Bryce Harper,
Things happen.
Stuff happens. People want to see.
Nelly's probably a Cardinals fan. It's from
Nelly
St. Louis.
That's where this came from.
Okay.
So Dempster asked him about that night, and he's like, man, I was just there to see a concert. They were going to see Florida Georgia Line in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I know it's not cool to like Florida Georgia Line.
That's
Apparently,
really
I've learned that on Twitter, but I think when you're 26 years old and you're a multimillionaire, you can like whatever the hell you want to like. And so Nelly was at it, and apparently, according to Chris Bryant, Nelly was trying to sell Bryce Harper on St. Louis.
Sure.
And in a setting that, keep in mind, the St. Louis media have struggled with this. The setting is a Cubs fan fest. Okay? The host of the show is a member of the Cubs front office. And the guest is the all-star third baseman and former MVP of the Cubs. Context, everyone. He says, St. Louis, so boring. Of all the places, basically, you could play, why would you want to play there? It's so boring. Talking about his friend Bryce Harper. And the St. Louis media took that by the next morning and had just gone running with it. I thought nothing of it as it happened. I did not think at any point, man, this is
controversial.
This is going to blow up. And Yadier Molina just deeply offended by St. Louis being called boring. And I feel like I can say this as someone who grew up in Ruston, Louisiana, which if you were to list the 10 most boring places on earth, Ruston would probably make it. St. Louis is, by Major League standards, kind of boring.
It's different. I think you'll agree here. Now look, it's sort of the MLB version of Oklahoma City, frankly.
Yeah. A lot.
From an NBA standpoint back over.
Yeah. What is it known for? It's known for having a good fan base.
Yeah.
They passionately care about baseball. Now, the problem with that is that when you do that, and as a fan base you do this best fans in baseball thing, you do set yourself up where on Tuesday night the stadium is half empty. People show pictures of all the empty sections and say best fans in baseball. You create that on your own when you do that.
Yeah.
It'd be like if the Grizzlies said, we're the best fans in basketball. And then on a game like the other night where we were there for the Bucks and Grizzlies and it's half full, you'd say, well, what happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you create your own stuff. But it was meant to be funny, not controversial.
A little bit of planning purposes. This might be everywhere. I don't know. I got told this the other day. The Grove Bowl for this year is April the 6th. It is a baseball football double weekend this year.
Is the 6th the Friday or Saturday?
6th is Saturday.
Okay.
It is against the Florida Gators in baseball. So Ole Miss, Florida baseball, and then the Grove Bowl on April the 6th. Obviously, a lot more storylines with new coordinators, new quarterback, all that stuff this season for Ole Miss. Podcast brought to you in part by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Stoughton County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting and understands your market. A leader in condo financing and the float down option. You can find Jason Lowe at 662-234-2704 or JLowe, JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
Podcast also brought to you in part by the Westin Jackson. Restore serenity to your soul by visiting Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. Escape from the everyday and rejuvenate yourself in their luxury spa today. Also gather at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro, sip on a creative craft cocktail, or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships. So gather at Estelle tonight. The podcast also brought to you in part by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you've been thinking about that golf trip with the guys or an anniversary trip with your special significant other, whether you're thinking about going to St. Andrews, sitting at a cafe in Paris, your summer trip, a cruise, a trip to the beach, whatever it may be, get in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. Call him, give him a budget, give him some parameters, and then let him do the work. You don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. It's 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on the podcast or at rebelgrove.com. You'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Podcast also brought to you by Visit Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com/events for a full calendar of events. But this week with a Pop-Up Oxford going on, you just got to check out popupoxfordms.com for that calendar of events. Got Mississippi Monday, movies at the Belfry, got MLK Day, Service Day, and much more throughout the week. All this going on, again, through Pop-Up Oxford. That is through next Saturday or Sunday, through the weekend. Plenty of events every single night. So see that calendar again at popupoxfordms.com.
So I know we're going to talk some NFL. Before we do, this from Peter King this morning. I don't know that you've heard this.
No.
This is from Eric Edholm, who's been a friend of this podcast at times.
Our first ever guest.
Eric Edholm, our first ever guest. Eric is with Pro Football Weekly. This is from, he refers to it as a mini bomb from Peter King this morning in NBC Sports, profootballtalk.nbcsports.com.
Yeah.
The upshot, as soon as this call got made, I heard from a couple of acquaintances, sources, about the impact of it. Al Riveron, the executive vice president of officiating, is gone, one said. He can't survive this. Another said the league will have to pay big to bring back Dean Blandino or Mike Pereira, less likely. He says, I think Riveron was on thin ice before Sunday. What the NFL should do if it decides to dump Riveron is pay realistic money to get Blandino back from his cushy gig at Fox. He's a trusted and trustworthy guy. So I'll do this because I'm not emotionally involved in the games. Mm-hmm. You were in one of them.
Yeah.
I did not, to give you a little context on how bad the call was in the Saints game. Our flight left Chicago at 2:45. So I missed most of the first quarter. The Wi-Fi on the plane worked, thank God. I watched all of the second quarter and most of the third. We landed, had to get off the plane.
Yeah.
Had to go get our bags, had to go get the car.
Yeah.
Pull out. By the time we get out, there are 5 minutes left in the game. No, a little less than that. The Rams had just tied it at 20.
Okay.
So we're driving on Winchester. We get on 78. We're driving. And I'm listening to a national broadcast. I couldn't find the Saints broadcast. I could find the Rams broadcast, but not the Saints. I listened to a national broadcast. And it was Kevin. You'd know his voice immediately. He's very, very good. He's exceptional radio football. Paints a picture for you that is vivid.
Okay.
And I actually was enjoying it. And you hear the play where Ginn goes up and makes the incredible catch.
Yeah.
He describes it adequately, or more than adequately. And he's setting it up. And then there's the play. And by his voice inflection, I could tell he was waiting to say, and there's the flag. And you could tell he kept hanging because I could feel myself going, oh, there must have been a penalty. Because he described premature contact.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, and it's hard for me to do it because I'm nowhere near as talented a broadcaster as he is, and I'm not in the moment. But you could tell by voice inflection and nothing more, and the pause, that he was waiting to finish that sentence. And for the rest of the game, he kept talking about that play. Well, I didn't see that play because I'm driving. We got to a red light in Holly Springs, and I got on Twitter real fast and found it. And just thought, oh, my God. By that time, the game was over.
Yeah.
Robo-Leg had made a 58-yard kick, and the Rams had won the NFC title. And I thought, that's all we're going to talk about. It's officiating. And then last night, and I don't want to do too much of taking anything away from Tom Brady, who's the greatest quarterback of all time. You never want to give the ball to Tom Brady when it matters. But the roughing the passer penalty on the Chiefs yesterday was a complete joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete joke. And we do this in the college game all the time because we deal with a lot of people who are very emotional about the game that they go to. And people talk about conspiracies. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I never have. I think it's incompetence. I don't think yesterday was a conspiracy to keep the Saints or the Chiefs out of the Super Bowl. I think it was incompetence. And there's a lot of talk today about what should the NFL do. Should the NFL have an expanded replay system? And I do think there's a way to do it. It's involving coaches' challenges. I think there's a way. The NFL has done a really good job of using replay and it not slowing the game down. Yet last night, there were two things that happened in the course of the day that had it been the college game, I think it would have been more enjoyable and more fulfilling from an outcome standpoint. One is that helmet to helmet should be reviewable. I love that in the college game. I'm in the vast minority, but I love it because I think I'm smart enough to know that if you're going to have football in 50 years, you've got to get that violent part out of the game.
Well, college football's doing the one thing they need to do to alter that rule, which is let's create different levels of targeting.
Yes.
But otherwise, I'm all
They're
good.
fixing
We're fine.
it. Right. They're fixing it because you've got to legislate it out of the game. Because if you don't, I linked an article the other day. Football programs, high school stuff, they're having a hard time getting insurance anymore. And if you can't insure the damn game, no one's going to play it. So you have to fix that. That pass interference call that should have been called, that anybody would have called, that looking at it live was a call, looking at it on a replay was, oh, my God, how did you miss that? You could have fixed it by the helmet to helmet.
Yeah. I don't know where to start. It's a couple different things. First, you know it's bad when, after a bad call, like I kind of get like the wellness checks, the text like, hey, you good? It was silence for 12 hours. I didn't hear from a soul. Everybody left me alone. Everybody was waiting on me to send the first text last night. I mean, even Dylan, like nothing for hours. Like I had to text him first. So it was that level of bad. The second thing, just from an overall fan standpoint, is, 53 weeks ago, I sat right here and I said, hey, next year it's going to be kind of like Ole Miss's baseball season. They're going to have to kind of get in the postseason. Like I'm having a hard time carrying early after the Minnesota debacle and all those different things. This even altered it past that. I mean, it's only a day later. And now, in saying that, it took a special regular season for me to really get kind of bought back into the level that I usually am, even if they're 7-9. This is going to be hyperbolic because it's the day after. Probably changed my fandom a little yesterday when you've dealt with this 2 years in a row. They've got essentially the two worst playoff swing moments in NFL history in back-to-back years.
But there's a big difference, and Jeff Duncan wrote about this yesterday, and he's right. The Vikings' loss, as crazy as it was, as fluky as it was,
it was a football play.
It was a football play.
Yeah.
And
it was somebody catching a Hail Mary. Okay.
And that shit happens, pardon my French.
Yeah.
You're going to see it once or twice a year, a college game, a pro game, or whatever. Some dude down 5 with 6 seconds left slings a ball 70 yards, and it bounces funny off somebody's helmet or something.
Somebody catches it.
And somebody catches it, and it's a touchdown. And you go, oh, my God, that sucks. But it's football. Because you could technically run that play on the first play of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no rule against, hey, let's throw a Hail Mary on 1st and 10 from the 28, 15 minutes to go in the first quarter. There's no rule against that. But when you lose on something like this, it's different.
Well, and it's I've had this argument, not really argument. I really hadn't talked to much of anybody, but I made a post on the message board. And this was going to happen because, look, the Saints got the ball first in overtime. Sean Payton was a moron with play calling. There's a lot of elements here.
Yeah. Now, they missed the pass the interception. It was another missed call. It was hands to the face. Dante Fowler hit Drew Brees in the face.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the game, you probably missed this. There was a very obvious pass interference on the Rams that wasn't called on a third down that would have given the Saints a first down at the 40, up 3 with about 8 to go. And now, look, they missed some calls the other way, too. I mean, Goff there was a face mask on Goff on one of the late drives. There was a lot of things. That officiating crew does not call penalties. They were the least crew in the league for calling penalties, and they basically made the decision going into the day, we're not calling crap. We're just letting them play. But it was egregious to the point of altering. And my 2 points here is, one, everybody goes, well, that was just a penalty. No, it wasn't just a penalty. It would be like an NBA game where no one's calling ticky-tack fouls, and then there's a flagrant that's not even called a personal foul. It would be the equivalent of that.
Look,
Two,
it was going to be 1st and goal at the 3-ish.
They were going to run the clock down and kick a 24-yard field goal to win the game.
And Peyton said what they were going to do. They were going to kneel on the ball.
Yes. Kneel and kick a field goal and call it a day.
Kneel, make the Rams burn their timeouts.
They would have ran it down to 10 seconds left.
Run it down, to whatever. Kicked a field goal.
Won the game.
And won the game.
So, and then the other thing and I understand, the Saints had plenty of opportunities to win this game elsewhere. But I'm so tired, and this is mostly a media thing. A couple of people wrote it. It was the main person of their story. Said, that didn't lose the game. Well, it did, because the game is actually over if that play is called. That's the difference in this, is some egregious call in the third quarter where you go, oh, well, there's time left. There would have been no time left. So that has been the most frustrating thing for me, is the people who argue back and go, well, no, that didn't lose the game. Well, that wasn't the only thing that lost the game, but yes, that did lose the game. Or it did not win the game, I guess you should say. I don't know. I mean, it's not even the pass interference. It's the helmet-to-helmet that most bothers me about that play, because you can argue some judgment stuff about some of the other parts of that, but that could have been called 4 different penalties. 4. There are 4 different penalties that could have been called on that play.
Yeah.
And none were. I mean, really, you should have just called helmet-to-helmet and called it a day. 15 yards, first down.
Well, it should have been pass interference, first down.
But point being, pass interference is still more judgment of a call than just helmet-to-helmet.
Yes.
I mean, he lowered his head and hit him in the head.
He did the panic DB thing.
He admitted that. He goes, it's the only way we had any chance left.
If I don't do something, it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I got beat. We got beat. I just tackled him.
Yeah.
Because as a DB, when you're beat, that's what you're trained to sort of do, really.
Yeah. Live to play another day.
Yeah, well, maybe. There's a chance that he misses the field goal.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a chance that he misses the field goal. It's an extra point, but there's a chance that he misses it.
Yeah.
Hell, it's not even an extra point anymore. It's closer than that. It's a they would have kicked it from the 5. It would have been a 22-yard field goal.
It'd have been more like the old extra point.
Yeah, it would have been a 22-yard field goal from the middle of the field, because the Saints would have set up and run to the middle of the field.
Yeah. And fallen down.
Rams would have called timeout. Saints would have downed it. Rams would have burned their last timeout. Saints would have
downed it again and
run 40 seconds off the clock.
Call timeout, kick the field goal.
With 3 seconds to go. Let him get out there, kick the field goal. And you either win or you go to overtime.
And now, yes, had they just caught the ball or ran the ball on their first down play, there'd have been about 50 seconds left, and you hand it to Goff and you see what happens.
He did 2 things. One, I want to say this, because I thought the Saints were going to win yesterday, and I had a funny line, and I never got to use it, so here it is. I hope one day we all find someone, all of us, in our personal lives, in our business lives, I hope we all find someone who believes in us the way that Sean Payton believes in that damn backup quarterback of his in New Orleans. I hope that we all find that because frankly, and I'm not a big deserve person, as you know, but we all deserve that. Maybe it's in love. Maybe it's in business. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a dog. Maybe it's just we all find a dog who believes in us the way that Sean Payton believes in his damn backup quarterback. But there's too much of that in New Orleans, and he should stop.
No, Jeffrey made this point on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Peyton is calling plays like he has an invincible team, and it's going to bite him, and it did. I mean, it had a lot of help, don't get me wrong. I mean, it still shouldn't have mattered.
But on that first down right there, after Ginn makes that catch at the 12, you are burning clock and burning timeouts. You're burning. You're not throwing the ball right there. You're wanting to you would have been able to get it down to 50 seconds.
Look, yes, you should have just handed the ball to Mark Ingram or Alvin Kamara. It was a very high percentage throw with the most accurate quarterback in NFL history.
I get it.
And frankly, if the throw is good, it's a catch. I mean, here's the other hot take, and I know you hate when I do this.
Breeze was not great yesterday.
Breeze sucked yesterday.
Yes.
He was bad. On the throw to Ginn, it should have been picked. On the pass interference that wasn't earlier in the game, it should have been picked. He had, on the 3rd and 19 that probably wins the game earlier, he throws behind Ginn on the other side of the field. He had mistake after mistake after mistake yesterday.
Which is another reason why you have to say, hey, he's not super sharp today.
Yeah.
Let's run the ball right here.
He was great early, and then after that, he was
Because
not.
if the Rams have the ball down 3 with, say, 48 seconds left and no timeouts.
It changes the whole.
It's going to be really hard to get into field goal range.
Yeah. However, I think that guy could have hit from 78 yards.
He could have, but you'd rather take your chance on that.
Yeah.
With them having to run him onto the field in a dead sprint.
Yeah.
Hey, line up and kick a 61-yarder. Here we go.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, I mean, I think Avery said on the board. I mean, I feel like I've been 4th and 25 2 years in a row, and I have. It's going to take a while. I mean, I'm fine. I mean, I'm all right, but I'm pretty down, and I think it changes the way I follow football for a little while. I just don't. I don't know that no matter what I can. I don't think I'm definitely not recovered by opening day next year, where it's like, oh, here we go, week 1 against the Redskins.
No.
I don't think so.
I would think that, and I would think that applies to that entire fan base.
Yeah, I think this is probably. I mean, who knows? Last year we had a way to maybe think that. I think the window's closing too, unless they find. They luck into a Pat Mahomes or somebody, like I said. But otherwise,
I think that's what hurts is that if you're a Saints fan, because
it's not 2009. It's not even 2011, which is the year we all talk about.
No, it's 10 years after 2009. It makes you realize how hard it is to win the damn thing, unless you're New England, at which point you just get thousands of chances.
They've been. I mean, look, they're great. Don't get me wrong. They've benefited so much from that division sucking, though, because you're the 1 or the 2 seed every year.
Right.
No matter what, there's no grind to get there. You just show up in the tournament, and then you kind of see what happens. But I mean, I hated
Kansas City waited till mid part of the game to show up yesterday, and that helped.
And I hated it for so many different reasons. I mean, even going in, I talked about how it was cool in a way, and it helped, but then it also kind of sucked in a way that Dylan and I, one of us would be going on, but then at the same time, at least we're going to lose one of them. That's what really sucked by the end of that was. That call took away just hey, somebody lost the game. Hey, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I truly believe if the Rams just win that game 34-20 and we all move on, as soon as it's over, I'm sending them a text and everybody's like, all right,
of course,
fine,
I've said this many times. If you tell me my team's going to lose,
yeah.
All right, and I have 2 choices. I can lose by some crazy controversial deal or just get beat.
Just beat me.
Just beat me.
Yeah.
When the Dodgers beat the Cubs in 5 games, that's fine. I was over it. I was over it by the time it ended. When the Cubs lost to the damn Marlins on the Bartman thing, there's a what if. What ifs are brutal. When the other team's better than you that day or that series or whatever, yeah, okay, it's all right. They're better. I was over the Dodgers-Cubs series in 2017 like this.
Yeah, I didn't watch a second of the AFC title game last night. Not a play.
Yeah, I knew you didn't. It was a good game.
I didn't see a play.
It was entertaining.
I followed on Twitter at the end. I didn't even care enough to turn it on. I was laying in bed and just kind of turned it on my phone.
It was entertaining. Mahomes was not good in the first half. He was really good in the second half. It's where people talk about the NFL's overtime rules, and I don't like the NFL's overtime rules. I don't like the college overtime rule either. I don't like starting.
Put it at the individual 40.
Or the other 25.
Either way, somewhere over there, and give both teams the possession.
Both teams get a possession, and then after that, it can be sudden death. I have no problem with it being sudden death
at some point.
If both teams score a touchdown, okay, well now stop somebody.
Yeah,
I have no problem with that. But make it at the own 20. The problem with the NFL game is that the league doesn't want to run the risk of playing a whole bunch of 5-quarter games. There aren't enough players. They play a lot of Thursday games. They play Monday games.
They're trying to get it over with as fast as possible.
TV windows, et cetera, et cetera. It's the part of expanded replay. The NFL does not want 4-hour games.
You got to fit 3 games into a day. You got a triple header coming.
Yeah, it's not like and that's why people talk about expanding replay at the college game. Those of us who cover it go, "Oh God, no," because the game's too damn long as it is. You can only do that if you're willing to make some other changes.
The NFL wants 12, 3, 15, and 7.
Yes, because it works. And the ratings bear it out. The ratings yesterday will be off the charts.
Yeah. Back in 1 minute while we're taking the break. Tell you about MasterCuts Lawn and Landscape. MasterCutsLawn.com, 662-607-7773. Yeah, it might be 30 degrees outside right now, but before long the grass is going to start growing. You're going to need somebody to handle that for you throughout 2019. Let MasterCuts be that business. You can give them an email for a free quote and more at info@gomastercuts.com. And again, 662-607-7773.
Podcast also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. He's the sponsor of my 10 Weekend Thoughts, which took a hiatus for the week. It'll be back next Sunday on rebelgrove.com. If you're looking for a home or a condo in or around Oxford, Harry is the guy to go to. It's harryalexander.com. Click on the Properties and Neighborhoods tab, filter through by what you are interested in, what you're looking for, and then let him do the rest. It's HA@harryalexander.com. Podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with a personal touch. When you call OUB, you speak directly with a live person. There's no 10 buttons to push, no 5-minute wait. OUB offers its customers the absolute best cash checking account. It's called Kasasa, and with Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000, and they will refund ATM fees nationwide. OUB also offers online bill pay and mobile check deposit using its online app. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. So I've had people ask whether I'm going to Tuscaloosa. I'll let y'all in on a little inside basketball here. We don't want to call this inside baseball, but it's inside basketball. Here's the thing about covering a road game at 8 o'clock at night. If Ole Miss wins, you read it. If Ole Miss loses, it's kind of like Chase yesterday after the Saints lost. He doesn't want to read about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to look at it. If Ole Miss loses tomorrow night, the game ends at about 10:15. I'm not out of the arena until about 12:15, and I'm producing content that none of you are reading. That's the issue. As opposed to watching it, maybe making some observations, listening to the postgame, getting someone to send me video from the postgame.
We think Ken Palm's got this one at tomorrow night.
I would say he's got Bama winning by about 2 points.
He has it at 50-50.
Okay.
Straight coin flip.
Okay.
He's projecting an Ole Miss win 77-76.
How close. Yeah. And so it's a coin.
You're curious about how big this week is from, opportunity, but you could easily lose them standpoint?
Yeah.
Iowa State Saturday?
Let me guess.
Okay.
He's got it at 52% Iowa State. He's got Iowa State winning a 2-point game.
He has it 51% Ole Miss.
Okay.
75-74 Ole Miss.
Two games that could
Two 1-point games. And while this week is so critical, is their next game is at Florida, and he has only a 34% chance for the Rebels. He's predicting a 69-64 Gators win in Gainesville.
He's higher on the Gators, and his computers are higher on the Gators.
Yeah, he has the Gators at 23 right now.
Yeah, I have not liked what I've seen so far from Florida.
That is Ole Miss's second toughest game the rest of the way, per KenPom.
Behind
Auburn, at Auburn.
Yeah. Even more than Kentucky. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's got actually Ole Miss winning the Kentucky game.
So right now he's got Ole Miss projected to go
22-9 and 12-6.
Whew.
You wouldn't even have to worry about Nashville, ladies
Wouldn't
and gentlemen.
even be a sweat.
Go, lose, win, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Be the first time in a long time that Ole Miss – I can't even remember the last time Ole Miss went to the SEC tournament where it was meaningless. I don't know that it's ever happened.
Sweet 16 year? 01?
Yep, not since I've been on the beat.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
No. 01. That's it.
Yeah, 22-9.
Because even they got into the tournament in 2002, but they were an 8-9 game.
Yeah.
They played UCLA in the first round.
Yeah, and I got on the beat starting in
08.
Well, yeah, and it was 08. And they were my first Ole Miss basketball game as a beat writer was an NIT game.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't even really cover it.
No, Nashville has mattered or the whole thing's been meaningless since 2001.
Unbelievable. That'd be a crazy – for a lot of Ole Miss fans, that would be such new territory that I don't know that they'd really know how to handle that.
Yeah.
Going to Nashville where you want to gnash teeth, but it really doesn't matter.
I mean, game by game, he's only got him the underdog in 1,
At Auburn.
2, 3 games.
At Florida, at Auburn, and who?
Tennessee at home.
Yeah.
Only giving him a 36% chance against Tennessee.
That'd be a hard game.
Yeah. But a lot of 50 to 55 coin flips in here. Kentucky, Arkansas away. The 2 this week, obviously.
Well, they've got some weird games.
They do.
At Arkansas, at South Carolina, games that are going to be hard to win.
I mean, the only ones it's like, oh, you're winning that game, don't even worry about it the rest of the way, are Georgia at home,
Yeah.
Missouri at home,
Yeah.
and A&M at home.
Yeah.
They have 3 just 80-something% games.
And here's where they are. So give them those 3 for a minute.
That's 7.
Gets you to 7.
Yeah, got to find 4 more.
Got to find 4 more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might only need 3 more if you got Iowa State. But you'd be bubbly.
Oh, yeah. You'd be 10-8 in the league. You'd be real bubbly, boy. You'd be super carbonated.
You'd worry about Nashville.
Yeah, you'd worry about everything.
Yeah.
You'd be watching games all over.
You'd have a great resume, but it'd be right there on that.
Oh, yeah, you'd be on that line. You'd be really.
You'd be real glued to like a Creighton Bradley game on a Saturday during the tournament over there.
You'd be watching every single otherwise meaningless conference tournament, cheering for chalk. Like that team that's running away with the Gulf South or whatever the hell. You'd be like, they cannot lose.
Yeah. We are all Wright State fans today.
Absolutely.
Speaking of a couple wins, in all honesty, congratulations to Yolette McCoon and the Ole Miss women's team winning 2 games in a row, beating Florida by 10 yesterday. And look, they beat Kentucky. Kentucky had a player out. Florida's terrible in the league, but it doesn't matter. Ole Miss, by far a situation that no coach could ever want to come into, and she's found a way to win 2 SEC games in 1 week. It's that's huge. I mean, and you can't underscore how good of a job that is, because if you'd have told me she either wins 0 or anything else, I frankly would have picked 0 given that roster and the way she had to overturn it. So really good coaching. Good luck to the girls, because that's a big deal this week.
She's worked really hard.
Yeah,
She stayed really positive.
Yeah, she's kept the main thing the whole year. Hey, we're just getting better. That's all we can do.
And so you can't help but be happy for those kids.
Yeah, I mean,
because come on, man, go into
they've
practice.
got a road win and a home win in a week in the league.
Getting up and going to practice every day, knowing that statistically you have no real chance, is hard. And to go win a couple of games, good for them.
It perks everything up.
Sure.
I mean, all of a sudden it's okay.
Well, and it does let her go to recruits and say, if I can get good players, this is what I do with players who aren't necessarily super talented, but they work real hard. And if I get players who will work real hard who are super talented, I can win.
And it was a 1-point game at half. They outscored Florida by 8 in the third quarter. They play quarters on women's basketball. And, look, again, all credit to Ole Miss. On the flip side of this, how does Florida let its women's basketball program just completely suck.
Yeah, a school that really doesn't take sports off.
No, their Olympic sports program's great.
I don't know.
Because it's bad.
It's really bad.
I mean, forget yesterday. I think that was Ole Miss's only league win last year, too. I think in the Ninsels last year they beat Florida. So, whatever. I don't know. Oh, let's see. Anything else as we're closing up? Again, I've mostly avoided the internet and sports for the last few hours, so I don't know what all's out there.
I don't think you've missed anything big. The one thing you missed last night, Tony Romo was awesome.
I saw that on Twitter.
Dude telling you what was coming mid-audible. Here's what they're doing, and sure enough, it's like, son of a...
Give you a little new appreciation for just what that's about.
Well, someone said this on the board. I can't remember who. I'm not trying to steal your thunder here. I'd give you the credit if I could find it real quick, but I can't. It does tell you when you're recruiting quarterbacks, you can talk about who can throw the ball 80 yards, and you can talk about all that stuff. But if he doesn't have smarts, football smarts, and smarts in general, doesn't matter. The game's too advanced. You can't pass your way through it. If he's not mature and doesn't study and doesn't understand what he's studying, it won't work. You got to have all the cerebral stuff, man.
The result was the main point here, but I'll tell you from a smaller point, a lot of justification, a lot of vindication yesterday for the LA Rams because Jared Goff was the best quarterback on the field out of all four of them yesterday.
Sean McVay had a really good plan. They were in trouble in the second quarter, down 13, and frankly, they just couldn't hear. I mean, they had to adjust on the fly with that. Hey, what are we doing from a communication standpoint? When the left tackle has to get up, walk over to the quarterback, and basically get it, and then turn the offensive guard's head so that you can communicate directly into his ear. Whoa, wait a minute now. We got problems.
He was running out to his wide receivers.
That fake punt call, I know it didn't work out the way you wanted it. Yeah. That was, you talk about these.
Because you don't get it and it's over. Now, the Saints had opportunity to make it over anyway. They kicked 2 field goals down there when you just get golden opportunities to put the game away.
But if you don't get that and you hand breeze the field there, the way that crowd was.
It goes 20-0.
20-0, and you're out. You're out. You're knocked out. You're out. You're done. You're done. And that's those. They were swinging.
He always does that. He made the right call, but he was on that 4th down there at the goal line going, let's just punch it in here and get the lead. And he ended up kicking the field goal to tie the game. I guess you didn't see that.
Mm-mm.
He had 4th and goal from the 1.5 yards, and he decided to kick the field goal and tie the game instead of trying to punch it in and take the lead right there.
See, I missed that.
There was 5-6 minutes left-ish.
We were trying to get to the car at that point.
Yeah, they had 4th and goal from the 1. Down 23-20.
Would have been real tempted to go for it right there.
Because if nothing else, you back them up to the 1 and make them move and you get it back or something. But
no, he's real good. He's sharp. And they didn't have a particularly healthy Todd Gurley yesterday and found a way to make it work.
Bad early. He dropped 2 passes early that were huge.
Yeah, he dropped one that would have been a first down and maybe even a touchdown.
And I was right with some of what I talked about. I mean, Brockers and Sue and Donald really controlled that game up the middle. They made Breeze uncomfortable. Brockers got his hand up twice on balls that were tipped that were huge that probably prevented first downs and big plays for the Saints. But, I don't know. It ending like that just put a damper on all points involved. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I can make my Super Bowl party decision much easier now as we move forward.
It'd be hard if I were a Saints fan. It'd be hard to watch much more football. Like, for me even, like Laura and Caroline are going to be at a dance thing. I doubt seriously if Campbell's going to be Super Bowl partying with us. I'll do something for Carson's benefit, but, I could skip it.
I'll pull for the Rams because of Dylan. And it's easy to hate the Patriots.
Yeah, it'd be easy. I know who I'm cheering for. But I won't give the slightest
I would feel
advance.
even much more palatable about that decision because I kind of like Sean McVay. If Marcus Peters could go away, I would like. I mean,
yeah.
I'm never the guy that go, hey, I'd really like that guy to tear an ACL, but if that guy really would like to tear an ACL, I wouldn't hate it at the moment. I'm just saying.
You do have to give Todd Gurley a ton of credit for his Instagram post.
For just appreciating the situation.
Just genius. I looked at that and I went, well, if I ever got a Rams jersey, I know which one I'm getting. That was freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
That was just great. The jersey swap with the referee for those who missed it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And if you're the NFL, you got to fix that. You got to make. They were going to release a statement last night. Everyone couldn't agree on the language. You got to hit a home run with the language today. You got to own it. Got to own it completely. Got to be transparent in your ownership. No excuses. Can't miss that call. Not in that moment.
More podcasts tomorrow. We'll take a closer look at Alabama basketball and more. So check rebelgrove.com in the meantime, and we'll talk to you then.